For the Ohio State Buckeyes, things went south in the Pacific Northwest. And after a bye week to reflect, it's on to Nebraska. The Cornhuskers are 5-2, feeling optimistic for the first time in a long time. Because of a true freshman quarterback who once committed to Ohio State. Now the OSU defense is committed to stopping him. Today at the Horseshoe, it's just like the alphabet. O comes after N. Ohio State against Nebraska. The football fever starts right now. It is a picture-perfect day for football here in Columbus, Ohio. Good morning and welcome to The Football Fever. I'm your host, Dave Holmes, joined as always by Obi Stillwell. We have Kellyanne Stitz inside the stadium, Ben Buchanan and Jay Richardson back in the studio. We will hear from everyone over the next 60 minutes as we get ready for a noon kick between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the 5-2 Nebraska Cornhuskers. Obi, let's start with Nebraska because this game was circled for about a month. Nebraska looked like they were getting back to some of the glory days, if not all of them. New quarterback Dylan Raiola. We're going to talk all about him later in the show. Then, on the way to the matchup, 56-7 happens. Right. The Hoosiers pound the Cornhuskers. So are people looking past Nebraska now that they took a beatdown at the hands of Indiana?
Well, you know what? Sometimes you look at that and you say, okay, they just cracked the code, right? And you're like, oh, okay, there's the blueprint to how to beat Nebraska. Nebraska was actually into that game in the first half, right? Probably just a few minutes left. They're only down by like 7 points, and then it fell off, right? The wheels just fell apart. Indiana, if you will, broke the code. They couldn't run the ball. Nebraska couldn't stop the run, actually, and Indiana just ran all over. I don't think that Ohio State, it doesn't have much of a bearing on Ohio State because I think there were so many things that the Buckeyes had to fix that their focus is on fixing those things, not necessarily focused on their opponent.
You know, Ryan Day has said all season long, it's not about the opponent, it's about us. And what he means by that is if Ohio State plays up to its standards, they believe no team in the country could beat them. But we saw out in Eugene, Oregon, the Buckeyes did not play up to their standards, and a team beat them, Obi. So they had a bye week, 2 weeks to stew over it, all right? You've lost football games before. Do you want 2 weeks to get angry and fix these problems, or how do you think they're going to play coming out of a bye week?
You know what? I think anytime a bye week is good, especially for the players. The mentality that you have or the mentality that it takes to actually win a game and stay focused and all that kind of stuff. When game time hits, it's game time, right? There's no question about that. But at the end of the day, that bye week, yes, is good because it gives you time to get your legs under you, get in the training room, get some ice, get healthy, right? And Quinshawn, actually, Judkins I believe he had surgery on his hand, and so there's certain things that goes on behind the scenes that these guys can get healthy again. So I think a bye week is good.
You know, it's funny. Ryan Day said when he brought in Chip Kelly, one of the things he loved about Chip Kelly is he is a man who doesn't abandon the run. Obi, I would argue that out in Eugene, Oregon, the Buckeyes got away from the run a little bit, but we saw, you mentioned the blueprint. Yeah. They cracked the code. Indiana ran it down Nebraska's throat. Yep. Do you think the Buckeyes try to do the same today?
Yeah, I think they try to open up that run game. I think the game shifted when Josh Simons went out, right? Mm-hmm. When we lost him because we were running the ball and then it just puttered, right? At the end of the day, I think they want to keep that run game going. They put some guys in there now. I think some guys that really haven't had a whole lot of playing time, game time, but they have had a number of reps, right? So we'll have to see if they actually have the strength up front to really establish the run today.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the Buckeyes and the Cornhuskers, a noon kickoff. We're going to check in with Kellyanne in just a bit. She's going to give us an injury update. But for now, let's go back to the studio. Guys, it's homecoming weekend, and no one looks the part of a homecoming king more than my guy, Ben Buchanan.
Wow. I am honored, Dave. Thank you. Great introduction. All right, thanks, guys. Ben Buchanan here in studio with former Buckeye Jay Richardson, and welcome to another week of The Football Fever. Jay, this is a big bounce-back game for the Buckeyes. Your thoughts on today's opponent at noon?
So today's opponent, Nebraska, it's going to be an interesting matchup because they have a quarterback that, albeit young, he can make every single throw. We all know he was once committed to the Ohio State Buckeyes and decommitted, and that'll be a storyline. But at the end of the day, do not let what happened with Indiana fool you. This is a solid football team. They beat Deion Sanders' Colorado team, and they look strong doing it. They can run the football. They have a pretty sound defensive line as well. They are actually 14th in the nation in sacks with 3 per game. So this is a team that can get after you if you let them. But I echo what Ryan Day said. It's more about what the Buckeyes are going to do, who the Buckeyes want to be, and if the Buckeyes are going to stick to their identity. And I think part of understanding who you are as a football team is knowing what you do well. The Buckeyes can run the football. And Dave Holmes, astute assessment there, brother. They got away from the run for some strange reason in Eugene. You watched Ohio State start to run the football, and it worked. And then oddly, Chip goes away from it and goes right back to passing on first down 4 possessions in a row and continuing to try to win with the quarterback's right arm instead of turning it all around and handing it to the all-American running backs that Ohio State has. And I think that's something that Ohio State has to decide. Who are we? Who do we want to be? What's our personality? And are we going to stick to it? And are we going to stay determined to be that for 4 quarters? Because if they can do that, there's not too many teams in the country that can hang with them.
No doubt. Physicality at the end of the day, mano y mano, has a way of winning out. Run the football, as we like to say. All right, time now for the Atlas Butler defensive checkup. And we keep saying it here, but it's so true. Big bounce back week for the Buckeyes, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
Ohio State came into Autzen Stadium 2 weeks ago as the top-ranked defense in the country when you look at most statistical categories. But the Buckeyes left Eugene battered and bruised. The Ducks ran all over Ohio State, going for 155 yards on the ground, 341 through the air. Silver Bullets didn't record a single sack or turnover in the game. Simply put, they did not put enough pressure on Dillon Gabriel. It was something former Alabama head coach Nick Saban put very bluntly.
We talk about these teams that have the #1 defense in the country. They're the #1 scoring defense. But who did they play to come up with those stats?
Who they beat?
And then they play somebody really good, and they sort of get, exposed a little bit. They didn't ever pressure.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just 4 guys rush, which, that's kind of an antiquated way to play defense.
Now, Saban's comments coming here as many question if current defensive coordinator Jim Knowles is the right fit for this defense. Comments head coach Ryan Day says he's not paying too much attention to.
I think one thing that's unique about college football is everybody has their own style of defense, and so what we're facing this week is very different than what we faced last week and the week before and the week before, and that's just college football.
All right, Jay, with that said, what are your thoughts on Jim Knowles, and do you think he's the right guy for this talented Silver Bullet defense?
Oh, that's a tough question, my man. But here's what I want to address first. Nick Saban's comments. And folks, you got to understand, we do this in Columbus every single year. It's, oh my goodness, this is the team, this is the year based on the talent that we see on that roster and all the stars that we see on that roster. I'm talking about 4-star, 5-star, all these amazing players, and then you instantly think that's going to translate to amazing stats and a great football team. And after the first 3 to 5 weeks, it looks like we are world beaters. And what Nick Saban said there is the truth. Who have you played? Who has challenged your defense to be able to go out there and be the best version of themselves, to where when they look at those stats, they go, those are not hollow stats because they did this to this team. And it's the truth. Ohio State finally got tested and did not pass the test defensively. And I think when you ask the question, is Jim Knowles the guy? I think Jim Knowles can be the guy, but I think in order for him to be the guy for this defense, he has to come up with a scheme or a way to get these players motivated to not just pressure the quarterback, but to stay disciplined in their coverage, to stay sound, and to put together a plan, a game plan against an opposing offense that works, and not just works, but features all the best things that these players do as individuals. And that's not always an easy task. But when you look at the roster, Ben, it should be easy.
Oh
okay, it comes down to this.
Talent.
And this is not a pun, but kind of is. Like, Jim, we gave you the bullets. You got to fire them. You got to know how to shoot, and you got to have amazing aim. And I think for whatever reason, when you watch that Oregon game and you just see a defense that is in disarray, there are some miscommunications in the back end, and some might say, oh, well, that must be because guys are not on the same page, which means the game plan's too complex. I don't know that the game plan is too complex. I think it sometimes is the wrong game plan. I think sometimes you have got to let guys play, and you blitz a lot because you can't get 4-man pressure. Nick Saban just right there saying to us, man, this team didn't do a whole lot of blitzing. Well, it's because you're expecting the front four with all of those credentials you have and all of those amazing players and all the draft stock invested there to be able to go out there and get pressure one-on-one. The front four has not been able to do that, so Jim Knowles had to figure out, okay, what kind of blitzes can I come up with that does not stress the defense? And I'll get more into the blitzing later, but at the end of the day, he's got to perform better. I'm talking about Jim Knowles. He knows that. He's the first to tell you in the post-game presser, I got to be better. This one's on me. But if it doesn't change, things will not change.
That accountability is important, but at the end of the day, the standard is the standard. As we say, it's life in the big city in Columbus, Ohio. There's no shortage of talent, but being able to execute it, that's why he's the $1 million plus man here in Columbus, right? I'm confident we'll get it figured out today. Now, the D-line isn't the only part of the defense that needs to improve moving forward. And we talk about the Buckeye secondary as well. They were badly exposed against Oregon. Jay, was this a matchup issue or a scheme issue looking back against the Ducks here, in your opinion?
Okay, so it's hard to say it's a matchup issue when you have the talent Ohio State has. You don't recruit 4- and 5-star kids to go out on Saturdays and not be able to match up, right? So we got to throw the matchup issue out of the window. There's too good of players. There's too much talent to say it's a matchup. So it obviously has to be a scheme issue. It has to be a comms issue, and it has to be an issue with lack of pressure. People have to understand the idea of a blitz is a gamble, right? Like there's 11 versus 11. I'm going to take a couple of my guys from my coverage, and I'm going to send them towards the quarterback. I am gambling and betting that those guys can get home, meaning get to the quarterback before the quarterback finds the hole in the defense. Whenever you send somebody, you have to replace somebody. You can't replace everybody, so that puts stress on the back end. And I don't want to get too technical, but at the end of the day, when you blitz, there's going to be a weakness in the defense. And what you saw was Dylan Gabriel find that weakness every time. It's unfortunate that a few big times that weakness ended up being the same guy, number 10 for Ohio State. And I don't want to be too hard on Zell, but that was a rough situation to be in. He still has to perform better. If he thinks he is that guy that we all think he is, then he's got to be able to perform better. So it's a scheme issue, but I don't know what else you can do. If you cannot get pressure blitzing and you cannot get pressure with 4 men, what's the option?
Well, it's like we talk about. Adversity is inevitable, not to make it too big about life here, but how do you respond? Number 10's a good kid. I think he'll have a chance to do that today.
Spoken like a true professor.
You know it, man. Come on. I got you. Now, we've talked about it. What's frustrating about this defense is just the sheer amount of talent that they have. Take a look at this. Both Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau came to Ohio State as big-time 5-star recruits. They still rank among the highest-rated recruits the Buckeyes have ever secured here in Columbus. Same goes for transfer Caleb Downs, safety turned linebacker Sonny Styles. Both of those guys 5-star talents as well. On top of this, you have Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom, Jordan Hancock, Davison Igbinosin. We're all highly touted 4-stars as well. Jay, this defense has the talent, the experience to be truly elite. We know that. Are these defensive schemes too complex, in your opinion? And essentially, when do you just let the guys go play fast and free and be the athletes that they are?
I mean, look at that right there. Look at all the, you got more stars than the American flag up there. You have got to be able to perform. I'm going to get off of Jim Knowles for a second. I'm going to get on some of these players. Listen, you're getting paid. You got all the stars in the world. You got all the training. You got the right foods. You have every resource available to you. When that ball snaps, you got a job to do. And if you're not doing that job, then it's on you. If you're not winning up front, then it's on you. If you're not winning in your coverage, then it's on you. Linebackers, if you cannot read, run, pass, and get downhill or get back into your coverage quickly, then that is on you. So I don't know if these guys know this, but the schemes don't get any less complex when they get to the NFL.
Okay, good point.
So
good
that's
point.
where you're trying to go, and you cannot stay locked into the schemes that you have to be studying all week long to be prepared on Saturday, then you're the wrong kid for the job. And I don't want to be too crass, but that is just what it is. The players have got to perform. They did not perform last week. They have an opportunity today to bounce back and to rectify some of these issues and to get confident again.
Well said by an NFL vet. He has the street cred in order to say that. Now, for more on this Buckeye defense, let's send things out to Dave and Obi. Guys.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. I mean, Ryan Day was asked about the defense constantly in his weekly Tuesday news conference because that was the story. I mean, Jim Knowles' defense has been good, and it's been better every year. The problem is in the big games, and we know the team up north, of course, 3 times, and against Oregon, in the big moments, they tend to disappear, Obi. They can't get off the field. So piggybacking on the conversation Ben and Jay just had, is it 5-star talent with a 3-star scheme?
Man, that's a great question. I don't want to miss words here, actually, to be honest with you. I think that I would disagree with what Jay is saying as far as, like, the players having to step up. I really think with 100% it's the scheme. There's just no doubt about it. When you sit back and watch it, and I know sometimes we get caught up being, not saying this is what Jay is doing, but being homers, and we want to make sure that we always kind of for the home team. But I want to be honest also. This is a scheme issue. You have some of the most talented players, most talented athletes in the country here at Ohio State, and then all of a sudden, when they come here, they're amazing, but as they do the maturation process, it seems like their thunder is taken. We're looking for Tui Moloau, that Penn State game. He came where he was young and just went after the football, right? So I think that there's some issues going on, and I know Coach Ryan Day can't say this, but the elephant in the room, in my opinion, is something going on between Coach Larry Johnson and Coach Jim Knowles, because it doesn't make sense that the defensive line has dropped in their productivity as much as they have, and then but the back seven, hey, we're good there. Now it's the front four. Nah, there's something going on there. There's some type of miscommunication or some type of disconnect that's happening there, and that's why Coach Ryan Day is spending more time in the defensive meeting rooms. And until he gets that fixed, people are going to have the banter back and forth. Oh, is it the players? Is it this NIL? Is it this? Listen, stop it. It's the scheme, right? It's not. It really doesn't come down to the players at that level. It comes like, are you scheming too much in these games and not just letting these 4- and 5-star athletes go out and play?
Yeah, it's funny. Ryan Day was asked if Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles are on the same page, and he said, "Yeah, all of us are on the same page, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you though, because when you look at it, Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau come back. They are 5-star kids in a 4th year, Obi.
Yes.
You never see 5-star kids last 4 years at Ohio State. In fact, Ryan Day and Urban Meyer before him once said, if the kids make it 4 years, we did something wrong. That used to be their company line. So I'm with you that you have 5-star kids, 4 years, not getting sacks. There's got to be something schematically there. But it's not like these kids suddenly became less talented.
Oh, yeah, and you look at Jack Sawyer in the bowl game, and him talking about possibly going to the NFL, we're like, what in the world? But after that bowl game,
he wrecked Missouri.
I was like, that's a legitimate, he may need to make a decision. So we thought we were going to see that Jack Sawyer come back, and then all of a sudden, he's not the guy we saw in the bowl game. I think they've got him out of the game. And so we have to do something to let those guys play. There's something going on there. Again, I think that's the elephant in the room, and I know that may be tough to say sometimes, but we're not playing like silver bullets because the scheme is not set up for guys to play like the silver bullets. You can't just take the theology without taking the whole concept of what the silver bullets are.
Well, we're going to talk more about this defense coming up on The Football Fever. Our own Kellyanne Stitz goes one-on-one with one of the leaders of the Silver Bullets, linebacker Sonny Styles. That's coming up next. We have more Fever on the way.
This countdown to kickoff is sponsored by Division 7 Roofing.
All right, we're taking you back live to the Horseshoe in Columbus, Ohio. It's shaping up to be a beautiful day for football. Nice and crisp with temps hovering in the lower 60s. Perfect weather to put a beating on the Cornhuskers. Now, one of the guys looking to play a big part in today's beatdown is Sonny Styles. Our Kellyanne Stitz went one-on-one with the safety turned linebacker before the game.
Sonny, you lead the room in tackles with 39. I believe you've had 16 in the last 2 games, a career high against Oregon. How fun are you having this season in your new role at linebacker?
I definitely enjoy the position. I think it fits my capabilities well. I think Coach knows puts me in a lot of good positions to make plays. So, I mean, it's obviously doing well. You know, obviously with the tough loss against Oregon, you know, you're not too happy about that. So we're going to try and figure out what we need to fix and move on from it and learn from it.
Considering your dad played the position in the NFL, how helpful has he been in your transition this season?
Definitely huge. I actually get to meet with him like multiple times a week because he's always around the campus. So he helps me out a lot. You know, I meet with him. Obviously, I meet with Laurinaitis, Knowles, assistant coach, Coach McGrath, assistant linebacker coach. So I'm getting a lot of great coaching.
You mentioned that tough Oregon loss. What did you guys learn from your trip to Eugene?
I think we got to just make sure we're ready. I think there's a few times you saw some tempo where guys' cleats weren't on the ground, weren't ready. So we try to get ready and play. I think we got a lot of great players on our defense. So if we're able to just line up and play and we're ready, there's not too much you can do against us.
How much has creating turnovers and putting pressure on the quarterback been an emphasis in practice this past couple weeks?
Yeah, definitely got to get after the quarterback, but I think that goes back to, like we said, you know, being ready, being set. You know, everyone, if you know exactly what you're doing, there's not too many guys that can stop our D-line. They can just line up and play. I think that no one can really stop them.
Now you're welcoming back Dylan Raiola into the shoe. Does that add any extra motivation to try to get to the quarterback, having some familiarity there?
Not really. He's just, I think he's a great player. I thought he was a nice dude when I met him, but there's no kind of animosity towards him. I want to go rip off whatever quarterback it is.
Thank you so much, Sonny. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, time now for another G&J Pepsi fantastic photo of the week. And the love for the Buckeyes extends well beyond state lines, as we see. Check out these students from Hilliard Memorial Middle School hitting the classic OHIO pose with the help of the Washington Monument.
I was born in Washington,
I
D.C.
like it. Very, very patriotic. Love to see it.
You know.
Remember to send us your photos of how you're watching our Buckeyes by going to chime in on the ABC6 app. And as always, we look forward to seeing you there. Now to the Football Fever Best Trivia in the Land, sponsored by Parlay Sporting Club and Kitchen. This week's question is, hey, it's getting pretty good here. When was the last time Woody Hayes coached the Buckeyes? Was it 1969, 1978, or 1976?
That's a good one.
A little tougher here. Simply scan the QR code on your screen and answer the question correctly, and you could win a $100 gift card to Parlay Sporting Club and Kitchen to enjoy some of this amazing food, delicious food, you're seeing right now. Now, speaking of delicious food, the shoe has some new treats available for everyone to enjoy. Jay, do you care for crumble cookies?
Oh, absolutely. I care for crumble cookies. Ordering crumble cookies is the reason my scale looked a little different last summer.
Yeah, I'm addicted to those things. You try to just like piece off one small, I end up just eating the whole cookie when it's all said and done. Well, now you can score some amazing crumble cookies on game day. Here to preview some of the flavors with Dave and Obi is former Buckeye Reggie Germany. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Reggie Germany, former Buckeye, his wife Kia Germany here. Crumble Cookies, so they own 3 franchises, but today's a big day. The first time they're licensed to sell these cookies in the shoe. First off, Reggie, looks like you traded a Block O for a Block C here. What's going on?
Yes, indeed. We turned it in for pink, for the scarlet. I mean, from the scarlet and gray to the pink.
Yeah, it looks good. So, Kia, take me through it here. This is an exciting day for you. So you get to sell some new stuff in the shoe. What do we have on tap?
Wow.
So we have vanilla bean cupcake, snickerdoodle, the mallow sandwich featuring Oreo, and then the trusty chocolate chip. These flavors are actually picked by Caden Davis and cheerleader Maddie Uswa. They pick the flavors that go in the stadium.
I think our suits are going to fit a little tighter next year.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know what? I know you're used to scoring touchdowns, right?
Yes.
Well, how is the transition of now scoring in business and coming into the shoe from an entrepreneur standpoint?
I think it's very similar. You know, you put in the work behind the scenes every day to create a product that's successful, and I think we've been able to do so with this crumble cookies.
How has the teammate process been with the wife? How do y'all figure out, you know what I'm saying, who's the quarterback, who's the wide receiver?
So I'll say this: she's the head coach. She's the head coach, and I'm just an assistant. So I get awesome. Delegated to what needs to be done. But no, we work well together. I think both of our backgrounds has prepared us for this moment to be able to give these youngsters and older people, you know, what's necessary.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's good to see. It's good to see how you all have come together to do what you're doing, and crumble cookies is the hottest cookie out right now. Let's just be honest.
You know, funny, Kia, so it's got to be difficult to get in the shoe. So how did you guys get the ability to sell inside the stadium?
Oh, that's all Buckeye love and Reggie Germany right there.
It's all who you know, huh?
Exactly.
It's who you know. Well, they look fantastic. If you're going to the game today or this season, you can now get crumble cookies in the shoe. Are we keeping this for us, though?
That's yours.
That is the most important question.
That was it. That was all we needed. We're still just getting started here on the Football Fever. Coming up next, we have 2 more guests that are stopping by here as we celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the 2014 National Championship team. Stay with us.
Well, two people who certainly know what it's like to both witness and play a part in some Buckeye dominance is former Buckeye and 2014 national champion Damon Arnett and Stacey Elliott, the father of the great Ezekiel Elliott. They joined Dave and Obi at the shoe this morning. Guys, take it away.
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, here with Stacey and Damon. Stacey, I know Zeke would love to be here for the 10-year anniversary. He has a day job, though.
That's right,
With Dallas Cowboys. That pays the bills better than we do here on the Fever. So I guess when you look back at that 2014 team, I mean, Zeke was so instrumental in that run. What are the fond memories you have of that team?
You know, the camaraderie among that team, all the adversities that they went through. People really don't know behind the scene all the adversities. We know about some of the public ones, the magic, the moments. Me and Coach Urban Meyer was talking about how he has, and I have too, as a father and being the ambassador, you know, recapture that moment, and you just can't do it.
Yeah. I know, Damon, you came in right after that team. When you were being recruited, I mean, how much did you look at that team as like, I want to be a part of this side of the program?
That was the fact that Coach Meyer came to my house and he had that championship ring to show me. That was the only thing I wanted. I was sold. You know what I'm saying? So that being able to come in after that championship ship year was definitely a blessing.
How does how fast time flies, right? Looking back, that's 10 years ago and even longer. You've transitioned into the NFL. Talk a little bit about what that transition from college to the NFL is like for you, and then now you're trying to get back into the NFL. But what has that transition been, and what are some of the things maybe you've learned?
It was one hell of an experience. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying? It was something that I had to adjust and get used to, and I did. You know what I'm saying? I had a little bit of some growing pains. But the track that I'm on right now is the I have the mindset that I was taught here. You know what I'm saying? In Buckeye Nation land and being a part of Coach Meyer, the things that I was taught here is definitely I'm equipped to handle whatever it is I have ahead of me. You know?
Is it even fair to expect or to have a level of expectations for someone to be totally prepared for that next level? I mean, Ohio State does a good job at it, but I mean, you're still so young getting into the NFL, right? I mean, it's challenging, but is that a fair expectation?
It is. One thing that I could say that I didn't do a good job on is leaning on my support system. Stacey Elliott, he's been there with me recently, helping me get back on track. I've been staying with him and my grandparents, and you know what I'm saying. Just it's so important to have a strong support system and foundation walking into new experiences in life. You know what I'm saying? So that was just the number one rule that I probably will never stray away from again is never leaving my support system behind.
Sounds like back to the basics, right?
You know what I'm saying? Because the basic things is what's going to be able to get you through the hard things in life, you know?
You know, Stacey, it's interesting because a lot of parents, they come to the games and they cheer. That's not you. You are an ambassador for this program, for men like Damon, former players. What is it about Ohio State that you don't want to let go of, that you want to still be a part of this team?
Well, when Coach Urban Meyer recruited Ezekiel, he recruited the Elliott family. And actually the first one to commit was my daughter, Aaliyah Elliott, who's a freshman right now running track here. But when I came down here with Ezekiel, you know, when we decided I would come here with Ezekiel, I started seeing how Coach Meyer really cared about the players. And I bought in. We bought in as a family. And, you know, as he was leading them and teaching them, I was right there getting the same leadership and teaching, and it changed my life.
Well, Damon, thanks for stopping by. Stacey, congratulations again on 10 years. Guys, the Buckeyes have a game they got to worry about today, though, against the Nebraska Cornhuskers, including a hot, true freshman quarterback.
Well, it's just the hard truth of college football. Sometimes you lose out on extremely talented players after they decide to flip their commitment. Case in point is current Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola. For a time, he was committed to Ohio State, the five-star choosing the Scarlet and Gray over a handful of prestigious programs that included the likes of USC, Georgia, and Washington, to just name a few. But that all changed in December of 2022. Raiola decommitted from OSU just 7 months after planning to suit up for the Bucks. And just a year later, he decided he wanted to be the guy to spearhead the revival of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, committing himself to Nebraska. Now, Raiola is just one example here of the current state of college football. Ohio State has certainly seen its fair share of exceptional players either decommit or leave the program altogether. Quinn Ewers and Joe Burrow being two huge names that come to mind. To start, Quinn Ewers was one of the highest-rated recruits in college football history. He rode the bench for a year, signed a massive NIL deal, and then swapped Columbus for Austin, and the rest is history. And then there's current Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow. He was at Ohio State from 2015 to 2017, where he then chose to leave for LSU, won a Heisman, a national title in 2019, and has since secured himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, Coach Ryan Day said he's not fazed when he loses out on great players like these guys. Rather, he says it's all part of an ever-evolving game.
Yeah, I think I heard a stat the other day that of the starting quarterbacks in the Big Ten, maybe it was like 14 or something like that have been transfers, so whether it's decommitments or transferring, it's part of the world that we live in right now. So you just have to adapt to it.
Now, Ohio State would love to have Raiola's arm. Obviously, the guy has undeniable talent. Jay, does Raiola treat this as a revenge game of sorts, in your opinion, with the Scarlet and Gray today?
I mean, there's no revenge to be had for Raiola. I would say maybe the Ohio State Buckeyes or the Ohio State defense might treat it as something of a revenge game, seeing as how he had an opportunity to be a Buckeye and chose to go to Nebraska to start what they call a revival.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
We'll see.
But what I want to say is this is, as Ryan Day said, this is just all symptomatic of this new college football business. Now, college football's always been a business behind the curtains, and now it's a business on full display, and you're seeing the evolution of that. There will be a lot of coming changes, I think, for Ohio State. For college football in the business aspect of it. It's going to be a CBA at some point. There will be collective bargaining and negotiating, and there's just going to be rights deals. Things are going to continue to expand in this aspect, and you're going to see players being shuffled and going to the opportunity that best suits them. That's just how it is. But when it comes to this particular game today, no, it's not a revenge game for Raiola. I think it's an opportunity for the Buckeyes to show this kid what he missed out on.
Yeah, it's the evolution of college football. We love to see it, 2024, and moving on here. Of course, Dylan Raiola's decision to swap the Buckeyes for the Cornhuskers isn't the only thing people are talking about. His football talent is one topic of discussion, but so is his extreme similarity to an NFL superstar. For more on that, let's send things out to Obi and Dave at the Horseshoe, guys.
All right, so here's the deal, Obi. My friends who don't know anything about Nebraska football, or many topics in life, if I'm being honest, they said, wait, Nebraska's playing the Buckeyes. Isn't that Patrick Mahomes look-alike? And that's what everyone knows Dylan Raiola as. There's a theory, a conspiracy out there that Dylan Raiola is trying to be Patrick Mahomes. In fact, so much so, here's what I'm going to do. Get a picture. Can we get a picture on the screen of Patrick Mahomes? Look at how much Dylan Raiola looks like Patrick Mahomes. You know how much he looks like him, Obi? I'm lying to you. That picture's actually Dylan Raiola. That's not even Patrick Mahomes. All right, now let's be serious. Let's put them side by side here. All right, so let's see Dylan Raiola next to Patrick Mahomes. He is an absolute doppelganger. He wears the number 15. Not only that, let's show some video of him doing his warm-ups, his celebrations, the way he hypes up the crowd. It is like he's doing an all-out Patrick Mahomes impression. Obi, do you think Dylan Raiola is trying to be Pat Mahomes? And I guess if you try to emulate someone, it's not a bad person.
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad person to emulate. You know what? And hey, go for yours, man. You know what I'm saying? It's the same concept that Kobe Bryant had with Michael Jordan, right? If you really look at it. But you know what? I don't know if he can be Patrick Mahomes in the horseshoe. That's the big question.
Well, so early in the season, he looked really good out of the gate as a true freshman. He's a five-star kid, former commit here at Ohio State. But the last two games, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, starting to show his youth a bit. And we already talked about the Buckeye defense wants to make an example of someone.
Oh, yeah. No, and it actually has to. But Ohio State struggles with mobile quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
And if he's anything like Patrick Mahomes, we need to pause at the end of the day. We need to pause. But I think Ohio State's going to come out aggressive. I think they're going to contain him. And I believe that we're going to have a lockdown. Ohio State's going to be able to lock down their receivers, and we're really going to be able to actually jam up that run game. So, but hey, go for it. Let's see what you do, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's funny, Obi. When you look at a kid who committed here, I gotta think that he wants to bring it today because this game means more than a normal one.
Oh yeah, you know what? And here's the thing. He's never going to admit that, right?
Right.
It's not what you say. Unless you win after the game,
then you say,
yeah, I really wanted it. But hey, you got to go in there like it's a normal game. But you know what? When you committed to a school, that means there's some things that you liked about that school. And so for you not to come to that school for whatever reason, you're going to always have that in the back of your mind, especially when you go play in the horseshoe. It just is what it is.
Well, we have more coming up here on The Football Fever. Coming up next, our own Kellyanne Stitz will talk to two mothers of two of the best Buckeyes to ever lace it up here at the shoe, and they have a new venture together. We'll explain coming up.
Committed to USC. Oh, a lot of people don't know that. I'm out there on a visit. Pete Carroll, we're sitting at a breakfast place in Malibu, and I'm like, all right, I'm committed to Ohio State at the time. I said, yeah, I'm gonna have to go and call my parents because I'm decommitting. Yeah. And I told Coach Carroll, I'm coming to USC. He was all ecstatic. I get on the phone with my mom. I tell my mom, she laughs. She puts me on the phone with my dad. I tell my dad, he laughs. My mom gets back on the phone, says, pick Coach Carroll on the phone, and she's talking to Coach Carroll, and I'm seeing his face change from this big smile to this like stoic look. And I'm like, well, what did she say? She said, take you to the airport right now and get you back on the plane to Ohio.
Serious?
Yes. So my mom is the reason why I really didn't end up going to USC.
Now, that clip was just a small part of the most recent episode of the Buckeye Fever podcast. New episodes drop every Wednesday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. So we really have Mrs. Wells to thank for seeing Beanie in the scarlet and gray and not the cardinal and gold. Never underestimate a mother's power. Love to see that. And speaking of powerful mothers, our Kellyanne Stitz sat down with two moms of former Buckeyes who are launching a new podcast to talk about the power of the Buckeye brotherhood. Kellyanne?
A mother knows best, and for C.J. Stroud and Paris Johnson Jr., that meant coming here to Ohio State. The two made an instant connection on their recruiting trip, and their Buckeye brotherhood has led to their mothers, Kim Stroud and Monica Daniels' sisterhood. The two continue to support each other through their sons' football journeys, and they say the foundation built here in Scarlet and Gray runs strong in the NFL.
It's real. It's really real.
It's so true. I know on our team, Noah Brown was on our team. And it was funny because just knowing his name, we knew he was tough just because he's from Ohio State.
That's right.
And my son was so excited to have him on our team. And so and they had an instant chemistry. So it's just like that brotherhood. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what year you went to Ohio State. If, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or currently, that brotherhood is just so strong. And they're from the same cloth.
Yes.
So they know they're going to be strong on every down, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when Marvin was, just recently got drafted by the Cardinals, Paris was so excited to have a brother with him.
Yeah.
Ecstatic. And even I had the pleasure of seeing Marvin the night he got drafted. And I said, I'm here to take you back to the desert with us.
That was a good one.
Monica told me that when she first met Kim and CJ, that she encouraged them to come to Ohio State. She still has that influence, including in the NFL. She's trying to create a pipeline from Columbus to Phoenix, pushing the Buckeyes to the desert motto. And of course, Kim Stroud wants to see more Scarlet and Gray in Texas. She was ecstatic when the Houston Texans drafted Kate Stover this past year to reunite with CJ Stroud. This is one of the many topics they will cover on their podcast, The Mom's POV, that is set to drop next month. Guys.
Now, the Buckeyes are heading into this Big Ten matchup a little banged up. Your Buckeye injury report when we come back and how it could impact the two-headed monster at running back. This is the Football Fever live from Columbus. Welcome back to the Football Fever. Now, the Buckeyes are coming into this conference matchup a little banged up. Kellyanne Stitz is at the shoe right now with the injury report ahead of kickoff. Kellyanne?
Yeah, the Buckeyes are missing a couple of key starters today against Nebraska. Left tackle Josh Simmons went down with an injury at Oregon, and unfortunately he is out for the season. Senior Zen Mahalski stepped up in his place at left tackle against the Ducks, and he's expected to start in his place today, and I'm sure for the rest of the season. The 6'6" seniors in his 4th year with the Buckeyes, Ryan Day, said that Zen had a very good preseason. The coaches liked what they saw from him, and they are confident in his ability to start at left tackle.
We go ones versus twos, twos versus ones at the end of practice. We felt like he was doing a good job and making progress. So, when things like that happen, we do have contingency plans in place, but we all felt confident with Zen going in the game, and we do, on Saturday too, and feel like, the way he played on Saturday should give him confidence going into this game, and I thought he's had a good week of practice.
And the Buckeyes secondary will be missing a key starter today in safety Lathan Ransom. He is listed as out against Nebraska. Ryan Day said earlier in the week that he was considered day-to-day, and his undisclosed injury is nothing long-term, but again, he is out today, guys.
All right, we're now less than 10 minutes away from the Big Ten battle between Ohio State and Nebraska. Stay with us to hear Dave's keys to the game and our final thoughts before kickoff. This is the Football Fever.
Time now for the Hyundai keys to the game. Sack lunch. We talked about it so much earlier in the show. Get to the quarterback and get him to the ground. Make Dylan Raiola's day miserable here at the shoe. You're grounded. Get back to the running game. That dominant Chip Kelly ground and pound. We want to see more of Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. And finally, clean it up. The Ducks beat the Bucks, but you know what? The Bucks also beat the Bucks with penalties and turnovers. Play a nice, clean game. We are back here live at the shoe now, and we're going to do something different. We're going to bring in Ben and Jay. I understand Jay took issue with Obi taking issue with Jay, so I'm going to let you cross-examine the witness here, Jay. What do you have to say?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Dave. Yeah, I took some serious issue with Obi's statement. See, here's the issue. When you say things like, it's not really on the players at all, you got to let them play. The players are on the field. They're trying to play. Sometimes guys don't get the job done, and you can talk about scheme. Listen, I agree with you. I think sometimes there's way too much cushion given by these DBs, and I think when the ball comes out fast, it's hard to get sacks. I understand that. But when you look at Ohio State right now, Obi, you're talking about a team that is right now 24th in sacks. Okay, Nebraska's 14th in sacks right now. Sacks is one of those stats that it takes all 11 guys to get that. That's fine. Ohio State's also number 10 and number 6, both in red zone D and in rushing D. So you're talking about a scheme that's getting the job done in the red zone, getting the job done against the run, but is not getting the job done against the pass. Obi, that comes down to players. That comes down to guys winning one-on-ones. Why do you think Nick Saban said, man, these guys didn't do a lot of blitzing? They were just 4 down linemen. That seems antiquated because you're expecting 4 down linemen to get to the quarterback. They're not getting there. So explain to me how when the 4 down linemen aren't getting to the quarterback, that's on Jim Knowles.
He's filibustering. Leave us some time to respond to him.
He really is. But you know what? I'm going to say this. In the 1996 was really when the Silver Bullets were birthed. And what we really realized is Coach Bill Young, rest in peace, one of my favorite coaches, when Coach Fred Puggett took over, it wasn't a brand new ideology. All he did was run the defenses in the blitz that we had practiced. That's it. He ran them actually in the game. So no doubt he had Sean Springs and Antoine Winfield, some lockdown cornerbacks, but the interior side, the way in which the guys were actually getting to the quarterback, he was just calling the plays and letting it rip. That's my whole point, Jay. That's it.
Obi, thank you for the history lesson. At the end of the day, the 11 on the field have to get the job done.
All right, this will continue, I'm sure, off camera, and that's the beauty of former players here. All right, that'll do it for us here on The Football Fever. The Buckeyes and the Cornhuskers are just minutes away from kickoff. Remember to join us at 11 p.m. tonight for The Football Fever post-game show with a reaction from the Buckeye players and our head coach, Ryan Day. Enjoy the game, everyone. Go Bucks.